Hello and good morning friends, welcome to CEC EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, from today onwards we are going to start a new series, that is Principles and Practices of Management. We are specifically going to talk about management versus leadership. So what basically management is and how it is, we could say that what connection it has with leadership. Today we are going to learn about this very topic in this session of ours, and I would like to tell you all, for this we have with us in our studio Dr. Ravindra Kumar. He is Associate Professor in Department of Commerce and Business Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, Central University, New Delhi, as well as he is a fellow with International Leadership Association, Maryland University, USA. He is the author of the two important books. Those books are very, I could say that favorite, popular among the students, and the books are Auditing Principle and Practice, published by Prentice Hall of India, as well as Legal Aspects of Business, Cengage Learning, that is through by the help of Cengage Learning the book Legal Aspects of Business was published. Dr. Kumar is a PhD in management, so let's take advantage from his experience. I hope that this session of his is going to be one of the most finest sessions. So welcome to the EduSet lecture, sir.
Thank you.
As we are going to study about management and leadership. Management and leadership, are they coordinated or these are the two different aspects? This is what we are going to learn through.
They are very much coordinated aspects. In fact, that management takes into account leadership as well, right? And but there is difference between the two. We'll discuss in detail. So should I start now?
Yes, over to you, sir.
Yeah. So the topic for today's discussion is management versus leadership, right? Now we all define management is what managers do. Management, in fact, is the what managers do. Now the immediate question arises: what managers do? So managers basically perform four basic functions. Managers plan the activities, managers take the decisions, managers organize the resources, or say mobilize the organized resources, organizing. Managers direct the activities of others, and managers control. They mobilize the resources and then they monitor the performance of the organization so as to achieve the organization goals. Now the question is that the second immediate question arises now: what difference does it make that between management and leadership, right? So I have written, I'll start with this one statement where management is what managers do. Then second statement states other one question is the approach that managers adopt to manage affairs of their firm. So in fact it is the leadership. So whatever managers do, so they need to adopt an approach. They need to adopt an approach. So that approach is as such known as leadership. Now if we define formally management, so we will find management may be defined as the process of planning, organizing, directing and controlling the organizational resources in the best pursuit of efficient and effective organizational goals. Say basically we take into account four things: that planning, organizing, leading and controlling the resources of an organization in the efficient and effective pursuit of specified organizational goals. So before I start explaining and defending the definition, okay, here it is important to distinguish between these two important terms: effective, efficient and effective. Say efficiency versus effectiveness. Now an effective manager does the things right. I like to emphasize on it. An efficient manager does the things right. An efficient manager basically is a manager who concentrates on the best possible practices to carefully and efficiently use our resources. Then is emphasis on that to achieve the greater output with minimum input, whereas ineffective manager is one who does the right things. So, doing the things rightly and doing the right things, that makes a difference between the two. However, both efficiency and effectiveness, both are equally important for an organization, because unless and until we are able to achieve the efficiency, so we cannot think of the effectiveness. So, it is basically related terms, efficiency or effectiveness. Now, towards the explaining of the definition, like that management takes into account 4 things: planning, organizing, leading, that I will come to later on, and controlling the resources of an organization, right, in the pursuit of that effective and efficient and effective pursuit of specified organizational goals. Now, immediate question is the planning. Planning is defined as a management function of basically to come out with a plan, with a futuristic frame of reference from which to see opportunities and threats, and now to see how can these opportunities can be mobilized and we can defend ourselves against the threats. Then it is organizing. Now, to put a plan into action, we need some resources. Organizing basically is a function that guides us how to put that plan into action. So, organizing in this context can be defined as the management function of assigning responsibilities, grouping tasks, establishing authorities, and allocating resources for the achievement of the plan, or say for putting the plan into action. Whereas leading is the management function of motivating, influencing, and directing the activities of human and other resources towards the attainment of organizational objectives. Now, finally, controlling is the management function of monitoring the performance, basically monitoring the performance of an organization towards the attainment of organizational goals. So, in its ultimate analysis, management is the process of reaching organizational goals by working with the human and other resources of an organization in an efficient and effective manner. That is basically the management. Now, in the beginning I have said controlling is basically not controlling, leadership is an approach that managers adopt to follow this full process of managing, whether planning, organizing, motivating, communicating, controlling, coordinating, and other things. So, they need to adopt some approach that is basically the leadership. One important quotation by a renowned management thinker Matthew: if a blind man leads a blind man, both will fall into a ditch. What does it mean? That in fact emphasizes the significance and relevance of the leadership. That means, if a leader is effective, a leader is efficient, he can even lead a blind man, but not vice versa. Suppose the leader himself is not efficient, is not able to lead. Okay? So, even the most productive workforce will be of minimal use. It is leadership. So, it is the approach that managers adopt. Now, if we compare these two statements, so I hope the difference will be clear between leadership and management. Say this is doing things right, and then versus is doing the right things. Okay. These two statements may appear similar in first instance, but there is a considerable difference between the two. Is doing things right, that means performing the things in a rightful manner, that is basically management. That means carefully and logically using the organizational resources and achieving greater output with minimum input. That is basically management. So, it is basically a process. That is why in the beginning I have said management is a process of planning, organizing, directing and controlling the resources of an organization in the efficient and effective pursuit of specified organizational goals. Now, second statement is doing the right things. That is basically the leadership. So, as a leader, a manager attempts to perform the right things. Means management, as a leader, manager is very particular about the priorities of the organization. What are the priorities of the organization, and emphasis on those things which are most crucial for the success of an organization. So, that is why we say that means management, where management is a process, leadership is the net outcome. So, a leader is always result oriented, whereas manager as such, if is simply a manager, an exclusive manager, is process bound. But in practical terms, every manager has to combine himself with the role of that of a leader. So, that is why we say manager leader, we call manager leader. It is not manager, manager leader means every successful manager must be a good leader as well, right, because efficiency alone will not do. One has to think, one has to understand the priorities of the organization and has to concentrate on the things which are most crucial, most critical for the success of the organization. So, a manager must be equally concerned with the outcome as well. A manager cannot be all the time process bound. He is planning, he is organizing, he is motivating, he is communicating, he is directing, he is controlling or say monitoring the performance. Okay. A manager means a successful manager, an effective manager must be equally, competent manager must be equally concerned with the net outcome. So, he must be aware of that he must possess some good leadership qualities, that is leadership is doing the right things. This is a statement given by two renowned persons, one Peter Drucker, known as modern management guru, Peter Drucker, okay, and Warren Bennis. Now, three managerial modes. Apart from management and leadership, another mode, managerial mode is administration. Okay. Normally, people use the terms administration and management interchangeably. People are able to understand the difference between the two, like what is management, what is leadership, but sometimes they get confused. They get confused between the terms administration and management. Okay. So, let us compare management, administration, management and leadership. So, now on the basis of certain points, I hope the difference will be clear or the relationship will be clear among these three terms. The main concern of administration always follow procedure. Administration is said to be procedure bound, whereas management main concern is get results. Leadership is one step ahead of get results. Leadership is means for Excel. To set an example, here emphasis on in administration is on conformity, process bound conformity. There are set rules of guideline, we have to follow it. So, conformity, right, whereas management is basically calls for interaction. It is not simply conformity, it is not simply fulfilling that formalities, interaction. Okay. Leadership goes one step ahead, creativity. Leadership calls for creativity, innovation, something new. So, that we can set the examples, standards. Focus. Administration always status quo, let it go, right, status quo, whereas management strives for stability. It is not simply status quo, okay. It is not simply like to manage somehow, it is not interested in managing somehow like status quo, it is stability. Okay. Leadership calls for trend setting, okay. It goes one extra mile, trend setting. Then norms, basic norms of measuring the performance. Okay. In administration, quantity, a person is working for 8 hours, a person is working for 6 hours. Okay. So, it is quantity, whereas management calls for quality. A manager is working for 6 hours, doesn't matter, maybe he may work for 4 hours, okay. But what is the ultimate output? That quality. Leadership is for pushing benchmarks. Then drives. Admission basically driven by past, means we have traditions, we have precedents, right, we have some experience. So, we are driven by past, okay, whereas management is driven by present. We believe in competition, past has gone, so we are in the present, right. Leadership is always futuristic, because a good manager leader is a visionary. So, we look into the future, vision, right. Present is not enough, we work in present, but we look into the future. So, vision. Then in terms of approach, we will find that administration basically goes by tactics, how to manage somehow, okay, whereas a manager has to develop a strategy. So, we go by strategy. Whatever we do today, we would be able to do it tomorrow and onwards. So, there is no ad hocism basically. As such, there is no ad hoc approach in management, whereas leadership goes by vision, long term planning, long term goal. Structure will find hierarchy and protocol, strict hierarchy, okay, where bossism works in case of administration. That is why normally we say like all governmental organizations, all public sector undertakings, they go by administration. The boss is always right, okay. Whereas in case of management, we go by matrix. Maybe we develop a working relationship and interaction between the managers and non-managers. That means managers and say the technicals. So, matrix, we develop working relationship. We cannot go always all the time by hierarchy, by protocol, right. Then in case of leadership, there is a network, okay. We interact with the outside world. So, we believe in networking. Then responsive mode, in terms of response mode, admission you will find always reactive, they react to what happens, okay. Whereas as a manager, I must be proactive, okay. I must be able to create the environment. So, proactive approach. At the same time, leadership also goes for proactive, right, make others play one's game, that is proactive approach. The basic idea about proactive approach is that it makes others to play their game, their role. Then managing by, in terms of management, administration always goes by developing procedure bound, okay. But in management, we build systems. Okay, what systems will work? So, we build systems. Whereas in leadership, we build culture, work culture. Then in terms of human resource development approach, HRD approach, normally it is supervision. A superior is supervising, the subordinates working under him. Okay. Then in case of management, we adopt coaching approach as well. That means guidance. It is not only supervision that will work, we need to extend guidance, we need to extend help, we need to extend all type of assistance, okay. Whereas a leader plays a mentoring role, a leader is a mentor, that is why we say as a manager leader, means every competent manager combines his role with that of a leader as well. So, mentoring, we set an example before others. Then in terms of dominant need, it is control dependency, whereas we go in case of management, we go by achievement of power, then power extension. Then in terms of concept of power, in case of administration we go by limited, that is means unshareable. Boss says always, boss is always right, he is reluctant to share his power with his subordinates. So, limited or say unshareable. But in case of management, we go by delegation of authority. Decentralization, and not decentralization, but at least delegation of authority. So that's why we believe in shareable, everything is shareable. We share a decision making power. So delegation of authority, right? As a leader, manager multiplies himself. So rather he goes one step ahead. That means that delegation of authority will not do. We need to go by decentralization of authority. So multiply. Means decision making at different levels independently. So that is multiplying. Now source of power. So it is the status or say the authority. That's why we differentiate sometime between authority and power. So authority as such is always positional or say organizational or say official, formal, whereas power is something which is personal. But in context of here, that power, source of power means the authority as such. So personal authority uses all types of influence. Power is basically the influence a person can exercise over others. So as a source of power in case of administration, you will find it is the status, the position of the person, okay, or say that organization authority or official authority assigned to him, okay. Whereas in management it is not status or authority, okay. To a greater extent it is competence. What competence a person has, so that will determine his influence over others. Whereas in case of leadership, it is the empowerment. So but empowerment is not coercive as such. I mean, there are two types of powers, coercive power and non-coercive. Say influence may be classified as coercive influence and non-coercive influence. So we do not think about coercive influence in case of leadership. We believe in non-coercive influence. A person is able to influence others when he has that charisma, that we say that qualities he possesses. Now, in order to further explain the relationship between between administration, management and leadership, okay, let me explain these three things with a small caselet, which is not a case study, it is simply a caselet. So suppose three directors are working at different times and they function differently. Like one director continued the work the institute was doing, responding to the training requirements of different departments, and all the records well maintained, and undertaking the various activities for which the institute was established. He was, question mark, we will discuss. So one director who joined the organization, he continued the work the institute was doing and responding to the needs, the requirements of different departments, maintaining all records well, and undertaking the various activities for which the institute was established. So now question is, he was a leader, he was an administrator, or he was a manager as such. Before I answer this question, second statement, second director joined, but he preferred to pay attention to financial aspects. He established links with other institutes, developed management systems, and built competence among the faculty. He functioned in the capacity of what? As. Then third director, he took charge of the institute, the same organization, just after the floods has washed away almost half of its grounds and buildings. At the time, institute was being run in a rented accommodation, in routine way, that depending on external faculty. After the director, a senior IAS officer took over. He set an example by shifting with his family to that ravaged campus, suffering considerable personal inconvenience, involved the faculty in the plans for rebuilding, mobilized various stakeholders for the rebuilding process. So the first manager who just came, he just performed the minimal activities. So basically he was a pure administrator. The director who continued the work the institute was doing, responding to the training requirements of different departments, and was maintaining all records well and undertaking the various activities. So, he was a pure administrator. He was neither a manager nor a leader, because it does not possess either of management quality or leadership quality. Second director who paid attention to financial aspects, and most importantly, he established links with other institutes and developed, above all, he developed the management systems and built competence. That is why in the beginning I said management requires competence. Among the faculty, he functioned as a manager. He was a professional manager, of course. Then there was a third person who just came and left, okay, and then fourth, okay. In fact, that fourth, no matter whether he was from bureaucracy, a senior IAS officer, but what the job he performed there, he took over, he set an example by shifting with his family, and so he suffered considerable personal inconvenience. He involved the faculty in the plans for rebuilding, mobilized various resources and for the stakeholders for the rebuilding process, and arranged a grant from the central government, offered almost twice the number of programs as earlier, established 3 autonomous centers for say rural development, for studies, for urban development studies and management studies. By mobilizing central government grants, established a memorial park in the ravaged and sunken land where people could plant a tree to commemorate some event or person by paying ₹100, right. So, in fact, this fourth person, the fourth this senior, that chief executive officer, he acted as a leader, because he did all these things which the person as a manager, as a just as a administrator could not achieve. So, that is basically leadership quality. I am skipping some slides. So, now let us try to define the term leadership as such. Leadership may be defined both as a process and a property. As a process, leadership is the use of known coercive influence to shape or direct the activities of a group towards the group goals. Now, as a process, then as a property. So, as a process, simply a leader is using known coercive influence. He is influencing his group, his followers, but in a known coercive manner, means not by intimidating, not by threatening, but because of playing his role as such. As a property, leadership is basically set of the characteristics. Property refers to the quality, set of qualities. So, set of characteristics attributed to those individuals who are perceived to use that influence successfully. Now, after defining the term leadership as such in terms of process, property, we combine these two, okay. So, we can say leaders are those who have the ability to influence the behavior of others, but without the use of force. So, basically leadership is the approach that managers adopt to achieve the ultimate outcome, and leaders as such are the persons who have that ability. So, we say leader than managers. Leaders are not different from managers as such. You will not find any such position like there is position of leader. We appoint managers, we appoint general managers, we appoint marketing managers, we appoint say finance managers, we appoint different departments, departmental managers. But the point is whether manager is a different, leadership is a different position, no. Every manager is supposed to combine his role with that of a leader. So, we call manager leader. Every successful manager is a good leader as well. Now, leadership style, the different managers or adopt different leadership styles. Also, different leaders, manager leaders adopt different leadership styles. So, for the purpose of our understanding or say discussion, we may define this approaches into three broad categories. We have autocratic style, democratic, and then participative or say free run style. Now, again leadership style as such. Leadership style basically refers to the behavioral pattern of a leader, his approach to work, whether he is just following that as such the directive approach, or he believes in participative approach, he believes in democracy, or he believes in fullest possible delegation of authority or say decentralization. Now, in terms of autocratic approach, a leader makes decisions without reference to anyone else. There is a high degree of dependency on the leader, and a leader can create demotivation and alienation of staff. People feel demotivated when a leader is has adopted that autocratic approach. That means he is creating rather demotivating the people. But there is a good merit of this leadership style. He may be valuable in some types of business where decisions need to be made quickly and decisively. So, perhaps the only merit of autocratic style leadership is that decisions can be made quickly and decisively, means that there is no as such like other party involvement. Then we have democratic style. What is democratic style? Democratic style is one that encourages decision making from different perspective. Leadership may be emphasized throughout the organization. Process of consultation. Leaders adopt the process of consultation before decisions are taken, and leader takes decisions and seek to persuade others that decision is correct. So, it is rather more interactive, rather it is a two-way process. In case of leader is following that autocratic approach, it is just following the one-way traffic route. So, it is a two-way process as such. So, in case of a democratic leader, it may help motivation and involvement. These are the merits of democratic style of leadership. Workers feel ownership of the firm, they feel a part of the firm and its ideas. They improve the sharing of ideas and experience within the business, and they can delay the decision making, say the demerit. Rather, this is the limitation of democratic style. So, whenever we believe in democracy, so we need to involve people. So, when we involve people, so deliberation come. So, deliberations come, that means it prolongs the decision making process. So, that is the only demerit or say limitation of democratic style. Then another style is laissez-faire. Laissez is a Latin term for let it be. Let it be. Sometimes we call it free run style. Free run, R-E-I-N. So, as the term translates into English, let it be. So, leadership responsibilities here are shared by all. By all. Here leader basically goes by fullest possible delegation of authority. It can be very useful in businesses where creative ideas are important. When people are given the free hand, you come out with your creative ideas, your creative thought, your innovative ideas. So, we will implement. It can be very highly motivational. People have control over their working life, can make coordination and decision making time consuming. So, we can say the limitation part is it can make, again like democratic style, it can make coordination and decision making time consuming and lacking in overall direction, because people are free to give their ideas. It relies on good teamwork. Without good teamwork, laissez-faire style is not possible. The same time it relies on good interpersonal relations, without which it will fail. Now, in terms of this part, there is another style that is coming out of that paternalistic style. Here leader acts as a father figure. Paternalistic leadership makes decisions but may consult means he may take decision himself, but he is acting like as a father figure, means he is a role model, but at the same time he may make decision but may consult, believes in the need to support staff. So, it is basically combination of democratic and laissez-faire style. Now, I would like to discuss about the theory of leadership. After discussing that behavioral pattern of a leader, now the different approaches, different theories of leadership can be classified into 4 broad categories. These four broad categories are great man theory of leadership, also the great man style. Then we have trait theory of leadership, say trait approach. Then we have a behavioral approach known as behavioral theory of leadership, and finally it is situational approach. The first theory of leadership that was developed by, that idea was developed by great man. That great man is the name of the thinker who conceived that idea of what theory, that what set of rules a leader should adopt. Theory basically the set of rules and regulations. So, it was great man who gave that idea. Leaders are born. As per great man approach, leadership is inborn quality. People born with or without leadership qualities, but those born with certain leadership qualities emerge as successful leaders. So, according to great man, it is like leaders and non-leaders. People can be classified as leaders and non-leaders, but leaders are always born leaders. Means a leadership quality cannot be developed through formal education, training, experience, exposure. So, all these variables are immaterial. A person who is born with leadership qualities emerges as a successful leader, and then environment has no role in shaping a person as a leader. Environment means overall, like family setting, social circles, education institutions, workplace, and the people around him. So, environment has no role. So, that is great man theory, known as great man theory or great man approach. And they advocate, the great man approach advocates that yes, leadership is inborn quality, and they give example of like distinguished leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Shakespeare, Hitler. They were all inborn leaders. They never attended any schools. Then according to the second approach is what we call it trait theory. According to trait theory, leadership calls for certain qualities, and the certain qualities means some qualities are inborn qualities, some qualities can be adopted. So, effective leader according to trait theory, basically this is an improvement, a refinement over great man approach. The developers of trait theory did not reject that idea of great man outrightly, rather they tried to improve his model, his approach, and they came out with a new that leadership theory that is known as trait theory. Accordingly, effective leaders possess similar set of traits or characteristics. It is very important to emphasize on it. All effective leaders, effective here we can say successful leaders, they possess similar set of traits or characteristics, like in terms of personality. All successful leaders possess the charming personality, dominance and personal presence. They are able to influence others. They have that quality. Charisma, they are charismatic. They can change the situation. Self-confidence, you will find that all effective leaders are very self-confident. Achievement, they go by the theory of achievement. They are able to achieve, and they have the ability to formulate a clear vision. They are visionary. But you will find that some of these traits are inborn, but some of the traits can be acquired. Means the environment plays a vital role in shaping a person's leadership quality. So, his family background, his social circle, friend circle, that educational background, experience, exposure, they also play an important role. But of course, some of the qualities are inborn qualities. Then third approach is behavioral approach. According to behavioral approach, a leadership perspective that attempts to identify what good leaders do, that is, what behaviors they exhibit. Behavior basically is the applied part of our attitude. How do we act and react in a particular situation? That is our behavior basically. The most simplified definition of behavior is how do we act and react, means the conduct. It is basically our conduct that exhibits our behavior, or say our behavior is exhibited in terms of our conduct, and conduct can be defined in terms of actions and reactions, right. So, behavioral approach is basically leadership perspective that attempts to identify what good leaders do, that is, what behaviors they exhibit. Now, in terms of behavior, it implies that leaders can be trained. They focus on the way of doing things, and accordingly there are two types of leaders. As per the behavioral approach, there are two types of leaders. One is known as task oriented, and another set they are known as relationship oriented, and accordingly they follow, since they follow two different approaches, task oriented leaders and relations oriented leaders, or say actions oriented leaders. Task oriented leaders basically they go by structure based behavioral theories. They focus on leader instituting structure, that is why they are known as task oriented. Relationship based behavioral theories, they focus on the development and maintenance of relationship. So, they are process oriented or say relations oriented. So, in fact, what happens if I say that there are two types of leaders under behavioral approach? Task oriented leaders whose main focus is on task, the performance, and the relations oriented leaders focus is on the welfare or well-being of their employees. So, in practical terms, no leader can be 100% task oriented and no leader can be 100% relations oriented. If a person is 100% task oriented, that means he is completely neglecting, ignoring the welfare aspect of his subordinates. It is not possible. Similarly, no leader can be 100% relations oriented. That means all the time his focus is on the welfare and well-being of the employees of the staff, and his concern for the task is minimal. So, that is also not possible. So, in reality what happens? Leaders have to combine their concern for both, for task as well as for the relations, say for performance as well as for the people working with them, with varying degree of emphasis on each. And this concept was developed by two managerial thinkers, Black and Morton, and they developed a diagrammatic relationship between the leader's concern for relations and leader's concern for task, and that is known as leadership grid. In fact, leadership grid represents the diagrammatic representation between the leader's concern for task and leader concern for relations, and accordingly they came out with 5 different combinations. They have shown this relationship on 9 rating scale, 1 to 9. On x-axis they show the concern for production, whereas y-axis shows the concern for people, or in other words, concern for production means task orientation here, concern for task or performance. Concern for people, that means concern for the welfare of the people, the staff working with them. And accordingly there may be 5 different combinations. One is known as impoverished management, that is known as where the leader shows minimal concern for both. The leader has minimal concern, minimal orientation for both, for task as well as for people. So in fact, this is, that's why known as impoverished management. Impoverished term is for poor. Okay. Here exertion of leader exerts minimum effort to get required work done, to accomplish, to sustain organizational membership. So with such type of leadership or with such type of leaders, an organization cannot sustain, cannot survive, where the approach is so impoverished. Key leader is showing minimum concern for them. He just working is enjoying his employment there. Then there is a 9-1 style. 9-1 means here a leader is giving maximum concern, maximum in the sense 9 out of 9. 9 for production and that 1, right, out of 9, 1 for the people, for concern for people. That is what is known as authority compliance. Means such type of leader is said to be more authoritative, authority compliance. Okay. Here efficiency in operations results from what? From arranging confidence of work in such a way that human elements interfere to a minimum degree. Then we have team management. Some leaders believe in win-win situation. Okay, they try to give maximum concern for both, for production as well as for people. That is known as team management. Here work accomplished is from confirmed, committed people, interdependence through a common state in organizational process that leads to basically that reinforcement of trust and respect. So that is team management. Okay. Against now authority compliance, there are types of leaders who give maximum concern for people and that minimum I mean minimum possible, 1 out of 9 production. That is known as country color management. That is known as 1-9 style. 1-9 country color management. And apart from these 4 styles, basically there are 4 extreme situations as such. Okay, 1-1 or say 9-1, then again 9-9 and 1-9. Some leaders believe in middle of the road management. Like their philosophy is live and let live. Okay, they believe that 1-9 is 9-1 or 1-9. Both are extreme situations. 9-9 is impossible. 1-1 means impoverished management. So they say let us go by 5-5 means more than say 60%. Out of 9 they give 5. So 5-5, that is the middle of the road management. So these are the 5 different leadership styles advocated by Black and Wharton through that model they presented, leadership grid. Now situational theories of leadership. Over a period of time, that style of leadership was also rejected by management thinker. They say that all these styles do not work in all situations. Okay, rather leadership is situational, means leadership is being more flexible. Different leadership style used at different times depending upon circumstances, because the basic philosophy is there is no single leadership style, there is no one best style to manage, because leadership situation every time we see different situation, we have to act accordingly. So it suggests leadership is not a fixed series of characteristics that can be transposed into different contexts. That is situational leadership. So according to situational leadership or situational theory of leadership, leadership depends on type of staff, history of the business, work culture of the business, quality of relationship that a leader is able to establish between him and his followers, the nature of changes needed, and accepted norms within the institution. So all these variables you will find, you look at all these variables you will find are very dynamic. They keep on changing. There is nothing static as such, nothing stable. So accordingly, leaders should adopt the style that is situational. Okay, depending on situation, leader should adapt himself. And among these leadership, various situation theory of leadership, we have three leadership theory that we can discuss here. We will take one by one. Leaders contingency model, or say Fiedler's contingency model, then life cycle theory, and third theory we will like to discuss house path goal theory. And the most basic model of situational theory is known as Fiedler's contingency model. Fiedler is the name of the thinker who developed the model, who conceived that idea and presented that model or theory known as Fiedler's contingency model. So according to Fiedler contingency model, leaders' effectiveness depends upon the adequate combination of three situational factors. I mean, there are three situational factors which determine the effectiveness of a leader, of leadership, that is leader member relations, task structure, and leaders position power. Now in terms of leader member relations, means whether relationship between leader members, leader and his members are cordial, good, okay, or poor. Then task structure. Task structure refers to basically how structured, how programmed that task is, whether task is of routine nature or non-routine nature, means task of repetitive nature or non-repetitive nature. So in case task is of repetitive nature, so that simplifies the procedure, then leader emerges as a successful leader. Similarly, if leader member relations are good, okay, so that adds to the success of a leader. And third thing is leader's position power. Leader's position power means how powerful leader is, what are the sanctions, what are the authorities are at his disposal. So that determines his ultimate success. Now if we compare these three elements, these three variables, as per Fiedler's contingency model, so there are task oriented leaders and there are relationship oriented leaders. You will find that task structure, first of all leader member relations, task structure and position power. So leader member relations may be good, right? Task structure may be high. High task structure means task is highly structured, means the task requirements are well defined and they are known to the followers. They know what job they are going to do. Say of repetitive nature, more say programmed ones, okay. And leader position power is strong, then it makes the most favorable leadership environment for a leader, because leadership relations are cordial, task is highly structured, they know the followers know the job they are going to perform. Then again leader member relations may be good, task structure may be high, but leader position power may be weak, because these are three, the emphasis here, these are three independent variables. It is not like if leader member relations are good, that task structure will be high, it is independent, it may be high or low. Again leader's position power may be high or low, and vice versa. In third instance, leader member relations may be good, task structure may be low, but leader position power may be strong. So depending upon these three different combinations, that leadership may be most favorable, leadership situation may be most favorable, moderately favorable, and unfavorable. Unfavorable in the sense, given leader member relations are poor, task structure is also low, and leader position power is weak, then it creates most unfavorable situation for a leader. And if we go further towards left, you will find that the most favorable situation is one which is characterized by, in terms of good leader member relations, high task structure and strong leadership position. Second model was developed after this by Paul Hersey and Blanchard. This is known as Hersey and Blanchard's situational theory, or popularly this theory is known as life cycle theory of leadership. It basically, this theory postulates that a manager should consider an employee's psychological and job maturity before deciding whether task performance or maintenance behaviors are more important. This is all situational theory, but this theory considers three different variables. Like the Fiedler's contingency model considered three variables. They were leader-member relations, task structure, and leader position power. Against these three variables, this Paul Hersey and Blanchard model life cycle theory of leadership, this considers three different variables. These are task behavior, leadership behavior, and maturity of followers. What is task behavior? Task behavior is basically the task related formal instructions issued by the leader. What are the different types of task related formal instructions issued by the leader? Then relationship behavior. It is basically the socio-emotional support provided by a leader. Then most important element or say most important variable is maturity of followers. Maturity basically refers to readiness level exhibited by followers in assuming responsibility. This is perhaps the most rational definition of maturity. If I normally ask my student in my class, what is maturity? Say, start explaining. Maturity means experience. A person is having experience 20 years, a person having experience 10 years. So, person who is having experience 20 years is said to be much more mature than a person who is having just 10 years of working experience. I say no. Experience may be one contributing factor, one contributing variable towards maturity, but it is not just that it entirely depends upon the experience. So, it is basically the readiness level. Readiness level, I say the confidence level. Confidence level reflected by followers in assuming responsibility, that is the maturity. Okay? And in its ultimate analysis, it may be further may be defined as job maturity and psychological maturity. Job maturity means the knowledge about the job a person has, whereas psychological maturity means that mental ability to assume the responsibility as such. Say the confidence level.
Because we are short of time over here, sir.
Okay,
I hope that all the students who might have watched this lecture would be benefited, and we would be continuing tomorrow and would be learning more through you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.